evening children. Once again welcome to online class. So I have started with the physics lesson, that is force and pressure. So I am going to continue with the same. Today I am going to start with the topics contact forces and non-contact forces. So shall we start, children?
Yes, children. We'll start with the contact forces. So contact forces. Contact forces is nothing but the force comes in contact with the object. Yes. And where we apply the force, which part of the body comes contact in with the object, that is known as contact force. So muscular force is one of the force which comes in contact with the object when we apply the force. So muscular force is the force exerted by the muscles of our body. We use muscular force for our various activities. So animals like bullocks, horses, camels, donkeys, elephants also use muscular force to perform various tasks. Children, can you push or lift a book lying on a table without touching it? Is it possible, children? No. So, can you lift a bucket of water without touching it? No. So, generally, to apply a force on an object, your body has to be in contact. Yes, as I told you, muscular force is nothing but when the part of the body will be in contact with an object, then only that object will be moved. So that force is called as nothing but the muscular force. The contact may also be with the help of a stick or with the piece of a rope. So when we push an object like a school bag or lift a bucket of water, where does the force come from? This force is caused by the action of muscles in our body. The force resulting due to the action of muscles is known as a muscular force. So it is a muscular force that enables us to perform all activities involving movement or bending of our body. So in the previous classes, I think you have learned the process of digestion, where the food gets pushed through the alimentary canal. Yes, this is also nothing but the muscular force that comes in a contact with the body and exert the muscles in our body. So animals also make use of muscular force to carry out their physical activities and other tasks. Animals like bullocks, horses, donkeys and camels are used to perform various tasks. I think you have seen the farmers using the bullocks to plow the field, isn't it? They use the muscular force. So since muscular force can be applied only when it is in contact with an object, so it is called a contact force, isn't it? So these are the some examples which comes under the contact force. What is that? Muscular force, children. Okay. Yes, children. Now one more contact force is nothing but the friction. Force of friction. Force of friction is a force which opposes the motion of an object over a surface. Example, a ball rolling on ground gradually slows down and comes to rest due to force of friction. So if you stop pedaling a bicycle, it gradually slows down and comes to a stop due to force of friction. So in these all situations, no force appears to be acting on the objects. Can you see any force appear on the object? No. So without touching the object, the force will be decreased. So yet their speed gradually decreases and they come to rest after some time. So what is the reason for these all things? Yes, can you guess, children? Yes, it is nothing but the friction, force of friction. The force responsible for changing the state of motion of objects in all these examples is a force of friction. It is the force of friction between the surface of the ball and the ground that brings the moving ball to rest. As I told you in the first example, rolling ball along the ground gradually slows down and finally comes to rest. How? Due to force of the friction, isn't it? Similarly, friction between the water and the boat, when the boat will be going on the water slows down. Boat brings it to stop once you stop rowing. Yes, it is also due to the force of friction. So the force of friction always acts on all the moving objects, and its directions is always opposite to the direction of the motion. Since the force of friction arises due to contact between surface, so it is also an example of contact force, because it comes in contact with the ground or the surface, isn't it? That's why it is also considered as a contact force. So you may be wondering whether it is essential for the agent applying a force on an object to be always in contact. So we have some more like non-contact forces. So we shall study non-contact forces, children. Yes, children. Now we have some non-contact forces. So in that, first one is magnetic force. Magnetic force is the force exerted by magnets. Example, I think you have learnt in your previous classes also, that force of attraction and repulsion between two magnets. Force exerted by a magnet on a piece of iron or a steel, isn't it? Like poles of magnets repel each other, and unlike poles attract each other. Attraction or repulsion between objects can also be seen as another form of pull or push. Yes, do you have some magnets at home? You can do the activities that you have two poles in the magnet, north pole and south pole. Take two magnets and bring south pole of each magnet towards. Okay, do the attract, see it, and afterwards you reverse one face of the one pole of the one pole of one magnet and bring it to the contact. So it attracts, means unlike poles attracts, same poles will repel, isn't it? So these are the some example of non-contact forces, isn't it? The force exerted by a magnet on a piece of iron is also a non-contact force, isn't it? Okay. The force exerted by a charged body and another charged or uncharged body is known as electrostatic force. It is nothing but the electrostatic force. When you, for example, take one plastic comb and rub in your hair, little bit, apply the force and rub in your hair and bring it to the piece of the paper. Okay, bring that comb, you have to bring it to the piece of the paper. Those piece of the paper will be attracted by the comb, isn't it? That is also one example of electrostatic force. So this force comes into play even when the bodies are not in contact. Okay, so therefore another example of non-contact force, this is also one more example of non-contact force. Okay, yes children. So one more non-contact force is gravitational force. Gravitational force is the force exerted by the earth on all objects. It pulls all objects towards the earth. A coin or a pen falls down when it slips off your hand. A ball thrown upward falls down. Leaves and fruits fall to the ground when they get detached from the plant. Water in rivers flow downwards. So these are the some gravitational examples of gravitational force. Objects or things falls towards the earth because it pulls them. This force is called the force of gravity or just gravity. This is an attractive force. The force of gravity acts on all objects. The force of gravity acts on all of us all the time without our being aware of it. So water begins to flow towards the ground as soon as we open a tap. Water in rivers flows downwards due to the force of the gravity. Yes, gravity is not a property of the earth alone. In fact, every object in the universe, whether small or large, exerts a force on every other object. This force is known as the gravitational force. I hope you have understood, children. So in the next video, I am going to start with the next topic, that is pressure. Okay, thank you.